Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of our Hwoarang Basics Guide. I forgot to mention last time, but we are on version 4 or season 4 now. But as we said in part 1, the goal for this part 2 is to help you flow between stances. So in order to do that, you have to know what each stance is normally used for and give you some ways to transition to other stances. Once we're done, I'll give you some examples to hopefully jumpstart some ideas for how you might flow your offense together. As always, don't forget that there is a written version of this guide should you need it. The link is in the video description below. Definitely a lot to get to in a short amount of time, so let's go. So we're going to start with LFF since this is your base stance and also your safest. You'll be in it the most since movement will usually revert to LFF, and if you block from RFF, it'll put you back in LFF. But, and this is really important, Hwoarang uses neutral a little differently than most characters since so many of his tools require a stance transition. So you typically have two approaches to neutral. First, you can lean heavily on basic tools like jabs, crouch jab, down forward 1, down forward 2, down 4, or even full crouch options like toe kick and while standing 4 to slow things down while remaining in left foot forward. Then, when an opening presents itself, use a specific move you've thought about ahead of time to get you to the stance you want. Or 2, pick the best tool for the situation, normally based on speed, and accept whatever transition it happens to give. Many players use this second option, but be mindful that it requires a lot of creativity since you're not dictating your stance necessarily. Instead, you're letting opportunities dictate that for you. I highly recommend number 1 until you feel good with his move list, then start trying number 2. Eventually you'll do a little bit of both and they will meld together. So with that, let's go over the transitions out of LFF. RFF is a common go-to because it's an aggressive stance, and if we ignore jabs for a moment, you have so many quick, safe, powerful transitions from LFF to get to RFF. 4 forward 4 is a safe I11 natural combo. Forward 2 is a safe quick mid poke option. Down forward 4, also I16, is still safe homing and knockdown splat on counter hit. Back 4 is another quick safe move, this time a counter hit launcher. Forward 4 is your long range approach option, still safe, still quick, and still gives a knockdown wall splat. You also have forward 3, which is a little slow but +6 on block, and if you space it right, it can actually be better than that. Lastly for RFF, from a low, don't forget sidestep 4, which is another counter hit launcher. Just be careful because it's a little slow once you factor in the added time of a sidestep. To get to LFS, his jabs in particular are noteworthy because you have the option to enter either Flamingo, which is really common by the way since it's the quickest and easiest way to get to Flamingo, or you can use the follow-up attacks to check against buttons. 4-3 forward is similar in that it goes to LFS, or you can finish it since it's safe on block. 3-3 forward is the same way, just a tad slower, but still with additional hits for cover. You also have down forward 3 forward for approach since it has the armor. Down forward 1-3 is a good option as well, just try to reserve this as a punisher since you'd rather get the +6 on hit going into Flamingo. Lastly, up 3 is an okay option since it's a low crushing launcher that's also +5 on block. To get to RFS, down 3-4 is likely the most common since it A starts from a low, B is a natural combo, C is quick at I17, and D gives big plus frames. It's the easiest offensive starter you'll find, which is why it's a core move for all Hwoarang players, and you can do it from LFF, RFF, and LFS. Down back 4 forward is similar and even 1 frame faster, but less plus frames. 4-4 is of course the same function as 4 forward 4 mentioned earlier, so a safe, quick, natural combo. You're just now going into right Flamingo instead. Forward 4 is a little slow relatively and high, but gives the most plus frames. And remember on counter hit, it gives a free RFS forward 4. Lastly, up 4 is our safe, quick, low crushing mid. Great plus frames given its speed and still gives free RFS forward 4 on counter hit. Before we move on from LFF, 2 important things. First, you don't have to transition out of LFF if you don't want to. A lot of LFF tools don't transition, so you can still approach just fine with wave dash, 3 slide 4, while running 3, etc. And in addition to all the neutral tools we mentioned earlier, like down forward 1, down forward 2, etc., you have powerful moves like forward neutral, down forward 4, and back 3. A lot of these are really good for wall splats too, so playing spacing defensive games is perfectly fine. Second, be mindful of dealing with rushdown. Blocking is always going to put you back into LFF, so your stronger RFF counter hit tools won't be in play. So again, rely on basic tools like jabs, or use other fast moves that commit to a stance like 4-4, back 4, and so on. This is also why back 1 gets overused at lower levels, whereas at high levels, there's a lot of movement and whiff punishing. Although of course there's always the gangbusters strat, and you can do something risky like down 4-4. I know that's a lot to take in, but again, go back to what we started with earlier. Either think ahead about the stances you want to use, or focus on your essential moves and then just accept whatever opening you get. The main difference between LFF and RFF is that RFF moves tend to offer better rewards, position, or pressure options. For example, LFF 2-4 is your quickest RFS attack transition, but it's just a single jab into it, so not much reward even if the jab lands. RFF 2-4 forward is similar, but it's 2 hits, natural combo, jails, and offers better frames. You also get more mental frames because the follow-ups are deadlier. Recall that RFF 2-4-4 is a launcher, and they can be delayed. Oh, and the 2-4-4 jails as well when there's no delay, unlike LFF 2-4-4. You have these same options from RFF 4-2. Your counter hit options are a tiny bit better as well, with RFF back 3, RFF 3 slide 4, which is your armor move, and RFF back 4, which is your high crushing counter hit launcher. All of these are of course safe. RFF down back 3-3 also has better frames than its counterpart, LFF down 4-4, and you still have just frame skyrocket and RFF 4-4-4 for mid launches in case you catch people ducking or see a whiff. Otherwise, stick to your safe-ish pokes we mentioned as essential moves, like RFF 3, RFF down forward 4, RFF back 2, and RFF down 4, or the shared LFF moves, down forward 1, down forward 2, down back 4, up 3, up 4, and running 3. Conversely, you can use the stance's aggressive tools and work your transition game with RFF forward 3, which goes to LFS, RFF down forward 3, which ends in LFF, and of course our scary down 3-4, which ends in right Flamingo. Note also that 2-4, 4, and down forward 4 are common for right Flamingo for pressure. RFF 3-4 is neat too, since it's a mid-high and ends in RFS with big plus frames. It can be ducked, but in response you can cancel to RFS early with RFF 3-4 forward. But again, take what we said about LFF and apply it here. Either plan out your next stance or let the situation dictate it. LFS does a little bit of everything. First, you can play with string timings to hunt for a counter hit or force defense so you can transition to something else. LFS 3 loops, which is just LFS 3 forward over and over, are common since LFS 3 is I-14, mid, and still +2 on block if you stay in Flamingo. For challenges, you have a couple enders. LFS 3-3 is -14 but gives the most reward in the open. LFS 3 forward 4 is safe, gives more damage at the wall, but also ends high. Conversely, if they're turtling, go for mixes or transition pressure, since LFS 3 loops are fast enough to deter ducking. Down 3-4 and LFS down back 4 are common for this. Down 3-4 is again our scary low going into right Flamingo. LFS down back 4 goes to RFF at +4 on hit and gives a knockdown on counter hit for a free follow-up. Or LFS 3-4 can also go to right Flamingo with plus frames. If you have a strong read on your opponent's timing, or if you go into LFS with plus frames like from down forward 1-3, you also have some nasty counter hit options. LFS forward 3, an I-19 counter hit launcher that's +4 on block. LFS back 4, an I-16 counter hit launcher, -8 on block and ends in RFF. Or LFS back 3, a mid-homing power crush, -12 on block and ends in right foot forward. If you have a hard read on a duck, LFS up forward 4 will be your mid launcher. Just be careful as it is fairly unsafe. Or once again, use safe poke transitions. LFS 1 is common since it's a jab that's +5 on block and resets you to neutral. LFS 2 and LFS forward 4 are similar safe mids to get you to RFF, and LFS forward 4 has a second hit for additional cover. In the end, the LFS options you use the most will reflect your general play style, so risky, safe, aggressive, etc. The last stance, RFS, is thankfully simple. Since nearly all right Flamingo transitions have big plus frames, you want to threaten with your lows and bait them into swinging. If anything lands, you'll typically get a big reward. Rinse and repeat. The big threat is your Hell Sweep RFS down 4-3, a 30 damage knockdown low combo that can splat at certain ranges. It's very risky though, so an alternative you'll see a lot is a manual transition to LFS and use down 3-4 or LFS down back 4. Since RFS can be so scary, it's not uncommon at all to see a Hwoarang player use down 3-4 to get into right Flamingo, then repeatedly manually transitioning back to LFS so they can keep doing it. This often baits a challenge, so at that point you can either use a counter hit RFS tool or a counter hit LFS tool if the challenge is coming late. As for those RFS counter hit tools, you got a few to choose from. RFS forward 4-4 is by far your quickest at I8, and also a safe natural combo on counter hit 3-hit launcher. It is risky to finish, so using just RFS forward 4 is a good check and stays in RFS with at least +1 on block. And since most people are looking for a duck and punish, you should get more mental frames as well. RFS down forward 4 is an I-17 safe mid counter hit launcher, although it ends in LFF, so you do reset to neutral. RFS back 3 is an I-16 normal mid launcher and only -10, which is really good for such a move. It also resets to LFF, but it's just generally good against duckers. RFS back 4 is an I-20 homing mid power crush, -12 on block, again resets to left foot forward. For safer checks that'll still keep up pressure, you have RFS 2, which is again our +5 on block jab, this time ending in right foot forward, and RFS 2-4 forward, which is the same move as RFF 2-4 forward. You're just doing it from Flamingo now. Or RFS 1, a safe mid that'll reset again to neutral. RFS 1-2 is an option as well, since it's a safe mid-high natural combo that goes to RFF, but it can be ducked, so just be mindful if your opponent knows about that. Lastly, RFS 4 is a solid chunky mid knockdown splatter. It's unsafe, but it's also your fastest mid from RFS, so that's largely why you'll use it. So again, threaten with your lows and try to bait out the duck or the mash. So how do we put this together? Your goal with Hwoarang should be to throw so much at your opponent that it taxes their ability to defend and forces them into a quick defensive decision. If they turtle, you try to break them with your lows. If they swing, you try to counter hit them. It's simple, but with so many move stances, it can be tough to put a good sequence together, so I want to give you a few examples to get those creative juices flowing. Now remember, you don't have to string this hard. Take the following example for a counter hit bait. Again, start slow, build up your familiarity and comfort with the moves, then go ham. Remember that your flow can move really fast, especially if you're landing hits and staying at advantage, so don't feel bad if you can't link together 20 hits in a row. Eventually, you'll feel good enough to do that. Hwoarang weirdly has a good grab game. The normals are okay, they give solid Oki, and in RFF the normals actually give a 1+2, although it doesn't have great Oki and it looks like any other 1+2, so they can break it on reaction to the hand or just by paying attention to your stance. However, his other grabs round out his breaks. 2+4 back is a command 2, and quarter circle back 3, which you can buffer, is a command 1, both of which give solid Oki. Sorry to aspiring Hwoarang players, but 2+4 back got nerfed, so no more free back turn 4. And forward 2+3 is a 1+2 break, which you can do dashing, which is always nice for grabs with forward inputs. Forward 2+3 can be done from Flamingo as well for more Flamingo pressure. But what's really cool is that he has a true 50-50 mix-up from back turn. Back turn 2+4 back is still a command 2 break, and back turn 1+3 forward will give you his RFF grab, which is a 1+2. From back turn, these have the exact same startup animations. He throws his right arm in both cases. Since Hwoarang can manually go into back turn with 1+2, this is amazing when your opponent is turtling hard, especially if they're at the wall and have nowhere to go. For fun, just wave dash at a defensive player, go into back turn with 1+2 and do 1+3 forward and see what happens. It's remarkably effective. This now brings us to the end of part 2. I know that this video was a little longer than usual, but there was a lot that I wanted to make sure that we covered. Flowing with Hwoarang can seem kind of tough, but I promise that it'll come with time. Just focus on your essential moves and try to find your favorite Flamingo moves and go from there. Hopefully we gave you enough ideas to get you started. Part 3, which will cover punishers, basic juggles, and some players to watch, should be done in a couple days, so keep an eye out for that. And with that, thank you for checking out this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube. Also be sure to turn on notifications if you'd like to get alerted as soon as a new vid is uploaded. I also try to stream whenever I can, so the link to Twitch is down in the video description below. You will find Twitter and Facebook links down there too. Lastly, special thanks to our 3 patrons, Tato, Apples, and Overhaul. That support means a lot. Patreon is definitely the best way to support your favorite content creators, and the more support the channel gets, the more content I can afford to do. Stay safe everyone, and we'll see you next time.